All right, one more video on incorporating archival infrared data into your image. Here we have the image from the end of the last video where we've incorporated mid-infrared data from the WISE spacecraft and near-infrared data from TUMAS. Now, WISE, it's great, it's all sky, so no matter where you point, there's guaranteed to be WISE data. But NASA built a better infrared spacecraft called Spitzer. It was not all sky. It's only certain parts of the sky, certain targets. But likely the kinds of targets you're looking at, really bright, interesting objects, Messier type objects, Spitzer certainly took a look at those. So I'm going to show you how to navigate the Spitzer archive and grab, it's not 12 and 22 micron like with WISE, but it's 8 and 24 micron. But still, warm dust corresponding to about 300 Kelvin and cooler dust corresponding to about 100 Kelvin. Okay, so let's go find this data. Let's see, I'm going to Google Spitzer data archive. And this is not quite the right interface. Let's click on the URSA. Here we go. So find your way to this page. Let's see, it's ursa.ipac.caltech.edu/frontpage/. Okay. And there are many ways to navigate this page. I'm going to show you one way. So I'm going to type in the object. You could do the object or the coordinates. I'm going to search for M16, the Eagle Nebula. And we have lots. It's not, this archive is not just Spitzer, but we have like, there's WISE and TUMAS here as well and all sorts of stuff. But scroll down to Spitzer. And what you want is the SEIP images. Come over here, it says image. All the other Spitzer ones say catalog or archive. We want to go to Atlas. Okay. Here we go. And we slide down, and these are just the images, mosaics of images that people took. With Spitzer, there are multiple instruments. One instrument was called IRAC, and you can see the wavelengths here, 3.6, 4.5, 8. Here's 5.8. So 3.6, 4.5, 5.8, and 8. And the lower ones, the shorter wavelengths, you still have a lot of stellar contamination. But once you get out to 8 microns, it's primarily dust. And then beyond that, the next instrument is MIPS, and we want MIPS 24. So you preview them. I'm going to just start by clicking on the first MIPS 24 and loads it up in a page. You can zoom out and you can see this is a mosaic. It's a whole bunch of pointings that were put together. And this probably overlaps my region nicely. I think this is where I had the burnout, this region right here. The actual orientation of this field is supposed to be like this. And so we see this and that. I think that is this and this over here. So it overlaps pretty nicely. I come back here and, you just keep previewing until you find what you want. This appears to be the exact same data set. Sometimes they appear twice. IRAC, skip over to IRAC 4. Here's the first IRAC 4 data set. That's good. Look at that. See all the detail there? It's a better spacecraft, and being a shorter wavelength, it's higher resolution. So this is really going to be an awesome replacement to the WISE 12 micron. And this will be our replacement to the WISE 22 micron. And you may want to keep looking. I mean, those look great. Let's load up another IRAC 4. They don't always look great. Like here, you see you have some artifacts. When they tried to do the mosaicing, it didn't work in this particular case. And some of the stars are doubled. See that? Boom, boom, boom. It's actually tripled. Boom, boom, boom. Here's a double, double. And so sometimes the mosaics are poor. You see all sorts of overlap artifacts. So I don't want that one. But I do want this one and this one. And I can keep looking. You really should take some time and look through all the MIPS 24, all the IRAC 4s. But usually the farther down on the list you get farther and farther from the coordinates that you gave it, or the center of the object. So it's often near the top of the list, you find what you want. Okay, so let's grab those. MIPS 24, that's a small file. And the first IRAC 4, this is going to be a huge file. Okay. It's downloading. And then we can go to Afterglow. You go to your workspace and you upload them. Here's one, the other one's still downloading onto my machine, but I've already grabbed them and put them in my workspace. It can take a while to upload the IRAC 4 in particular. So here's the MIPS, here's the IRAC 4, and I'm going to open them up. I think I'll rename it. This is Spitzer 24. Make it Spitzer.24.fits. It's going to be slow because it's loading the big image. It's not going to give me control until it's loaded it in. But doesn't that look wonderful? That'd be a nice layer to add to our image. Lots of detail, lots of resolution. But it's not going to let me save till it finishes. There we go. And this one I'm going to rename Spitzer.8.fits, or 8 micron. Create a little bit more space. So there's the MIPS 24. There's the Spitzer 8. And actually, let's go to the Skynet group, zoom to full size. And as long as you have sync orientation and sky on, not sync display settings, we don't want that, but the other sync on, then I can swap over and check out the overlap. And it looks pretty good. There's a little bit here that does not overlap with my image. And on Spitzer 8, the same deal. So I'll probably end up cropping just like last time. Last time I cropped because the Weiss data saturated here. I have a little burnout here. So I had to crop the data anyway. Now I'm going to have to crop because the tile doesn't overlap perfectly. But otherwise, we're going to be good. Okay. A command that we can do to kind of fill in this space. It's the same deal as before. I'm going to go to the advanced pixel ops, advanced, Spitzer 8. Let's also grab Spitzer 24. And it's the same command. Instead of img.max, I'm going to do img.min. And it will fill in this area with the lowest value in the image. I'm going to overwrite. So img.filled, and in parentheses, it's img.min with parentheses. Just on the two Spitzer images. Submit that. I think it took, let me see. Okay, yep, here it goes. I wonder if I hit the button too many times. And it says just once. Just filling it in. Doesn't really matter because we're going to crop it out anyway. Really just wanted to show you the command is there in case you ever need it. And I'll fill this one in as well. Okay. Now again, we have to align and crop. So let's clear out our ones from before. I'm going to grab the two Spitzer images. And again, one of the ones in the stack, I'll just grab our B band image, reference to the B band, everything on, including crop, submit. Okay, that one looks like it fits. Here's the higher resolution one. That looks like it fits. Again, there's the little spot where we'll have to crop just a tiny bit up here. But this is certainly higher quality than Weiss. Now, let's see. Let's take a look at what we did. With Weiss 22, let's go to the display settings here. 10, 99.9, Weiss 12, 5, 99.5. I'm going to remove these from the stack. Remove layer from file. Remove layer from file. I'm going to grab this and the Spitzers, and I'm going to group them. And again, it just messes with the order. I'm going to slide Spitzer. Let's see, I'm going to kind of keep the same order I had, just I had two masks on the top. I had Weiss 22, that's now Spitzer 24. I had Weiss 10, that's now Spitzer 8. Then we had H alpha. And we'll get this bug fixed where it remembers the order itself. Then we had luminance. And we had S2, O3, and then the color ones. The order of them doesn't really matter. So let's look at the whole group here. Let's turn off the two Spitzers. Okay, so that's our image with the two mass stars, the dust hidden stars in there. Let's turn on Spitzer 8. And let's set the controls to Spitzer 8. And this one, I'm going to use the heat map. It's the warmer dust. I'm going to go to midtone, default. Gonna click on it by itself, figure out where the background level should be. Stretch this out a little bit. There are boxes up there. Background level, let's try 10. Yeah, that gets me right at peak. I'm gonna go with 5, a little bit below the peak. Back to the top, and then midtone to 99.999 to kind of turn it off. And I'm going to ease the 9s in. Take out the 9s and ease the layer in. So that's really kind of strong, maybe 99.95, 975. Yeah, I kind of like that. It highlights it without, being overbearing. Cool. Okay. Now let's turn on the 24 micron. We'll go to the 24 micron color palette, switching it over to the cool palette. Again, you can try all sorts of different things. This is kind of my go-to for dust, is the warm and the cool palette. Switching this to midtone, default. And let's take a look at Spitzer 24. Let's see, 10%, 20%, 20% is too high. I'll go down to 10%. Again, just a little bit below the peak is the ideal place to put that. And then we set the midtone level. Just crank the number all the way up, turning it off. There are a lot of layers here, so the browser's getting a little sluggish. Okay, crank it up a little bit more. It's maybe a little bit too much. 99.95. $99.975. It's a little too low. I like the 99.95, I think. Okay, let's download this, take a peek. Flip it. And this is clearly some kind of saturation issue. Come on, computer. There we go. I'm just going to slide down below that thing. But the one from before, this might be the Weiss version. No, it's not. That's another Spitzer that I had tried. Is this? Nope, that's the one I'm looking at. I was seeing if the one I had up before, made with Weiss, if I had that on my desktop, but I don't. But that looks pretty amazing. Much greater detail than we got with Weiss. In fact, the blue does seem a little artificial here, a little too strong. So I'm going to tamp that down a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. All right, just a little bit of editing, pixel by pixel editing with the saturation bleeds, but I think that's pretty good. In fact, I'd probably crop it just a little bit more up here at the top. Let's do that. There we go. Yeah, something like that. Maybe even a little bit more. But so again, hot stars. It's ionized the gas. It must be really hot here because even the oxygen isn't shining through. We've got the oxygen, the H alpha, sulfur. We have warm dust all throughout here. I might even think about tamping down the warm dust a little bit, but you get the idea. You keep looking at it and you play with it a little bit more until you're happy with it. Okay, we'll stop there.